Chapter 9. Alex looked around, thinking about how freaking cold it was. Saw his breath. He fumbled for another cigarette, yet decided his fingers were too numb. On the 18th anniversary of Jade's disappearance, the graveyard was illuminated oddly by the presence of an amber supermoon, as it was known. Gusts of late fall air tore about. The limbs of the barren trees swayed, sometimes violently, as if the trees were dueling. The occasional crashing limb, branches fell in the distance, leaves upheaved around the ancient headstone, refusing to ever quiet land. He really had no idea why he had come back here again, nor was he sure why Tim had decided to revisit the phenomenon. At this point, Alex realized it was a bizarre compulsion. This one time of year he could, without a doubt, say that the supernatural existed. See it with his own eyes. Alex and Tim made their way slowly through their darkened, unquiet wood of the dead. As they walked down the final, small hill to the tiny mausoleum, Tim took a swig of cheap vodka from a little plastic bottle, wiped his beard. Alex warmed his hands and lit a cigarette. A crow stomped round in front of the mausoleum, then abruptly flew off. It was coming. Soon, a wrenching, grinding, ugly mechanical sound emanated from the dark, deep, unnatural. Alex and Tim felt the familiar shivers and chills that accompanied this specter. And a ringing, an old phone from the far past, a dual, monotone, stuck, and repeating pattern. Ring, ring, ring. The unholy cacophony followed by the roaring wind, and there was Jade's spire, bright pink, fading in and out. It was lit by sunlight from some distant year in the past, almost 2 decades ago. Then something new. 2 figures, shimmering in an eerie neon blue, like electric ghosts, fading in and out as they circled the car. A man in an overcoat looking at his watch, and Jade. Tim dropped his bottle, gasped. "Jade?" Alex shouted. He stood transfixed. Suddenly, behind them, Tim heard a loud crunch. Startled, he turned around. There was an angel, crouched down, about 4 feet away. He firmly remembered it wasn't there before. Strange. He turned his gaze back to Jade. She looked so young, but she was blurry and hazy and fading in and out, and a strange, static-like swirling, cerulean color. She pointed at him. He heard a crunching and slithering behind him, felt a hand grab his ankle. Something had a hold of him. Tim turned once again to see the stone angel frozen in mid-crawl, tearing at him. One hand gripping his ankle, the other claw was well on its way to his midsection. Tim fell away from a sudden, terrifying statue, landed on his back. His ankles were still in a merciless cement grip. Cold, inescapable. It was motionless in its fury, face a horrific screech frozen in time, waiting for him. He couldn't make sense of a statue looking like it had been there for decades. But it was holding his leg and reaching for him. It looked like it wanted to eat him. Tim panicked, for some reason, looked behind him, back to Jade. She was angrily shouting at the stranger in the white coat, shaking his shoulders, pointing at him. He felt a wrenching pain in his shoulder like it was suddenly being crushed. Tim saw the angel of stone on top of him, talons dug deep into his arm, the other still gripping his ankle. It was kneeling over him. Mouth open, huge stone teeth bared only inches above his stomach. Tim breathed really fast, really shallow. He didn't know what to do. He blinked. Alex heard Tim scream. It sickened him. It started slow, as if Tim was trying to ask a question or get attention. Then it turned into an ear-shattering, merciless celestial squeal. Then suddenly, it stopped. Alex turned around, but just saw a statue where Tim had been. It was crouched down over his small vodka bottle, weeping. What the hell? He then noticed several of these stone angels everywhere behind him. They all faced away as if ashamed, all crouched down and crying. He looked at Jade, kept mindlessly shouting her name as he ran toward the warping, fading pink spire. The stranger in the coat pressed something on his watch. All the blue and pink kept pulsing and crackling, becoming fuzzy. Alex shielded his eyes as it became brighter, the colors merging to a strange purple. That awful car phone ring of death, followed by the hideous, mechanical, ancient grinding, unsettling and echoing into nothingness, but the reception was fading. Then nothing. He stood alone, staring at the mausoleum. The wind shrieked and howled. He took a deep breath, not knowing exactly what he had seen. But he knew he had seen something. Been a part of the paranormal. Alex smiled. He turned to see a crowd of cement demons bearing down on him. Alex screamed, then stopped himself. What the hell is going on? All of these statues just came out of nowhere. Alex fumbled for a cigarette, lit it. In the small flame he looked at the nearest one a foot away, dressed in angelic robes, but it was garish, like an evil elf, but with a much larger mouth. All of them were looking at him. Why? They were all just frozen, appeared to have been standing there forever, yet had these claws reaching out. A flame flickered. Shadows danced on the wrathful angel's face. Alex took a deep drag and flicked the Zippo closed. He thought about what in the son of a bitch shit he was going to do next. He really just needed time to gather his thoughts. Then he blinked.